Are you missing the signs? On Good Morning Doctor, brought to you by Mount Elizabeth Hospitals, it's possible.
Good morning.
Welcome to the morning show.
Yeah.
The Big Show with Glenn and Angel on Kiss 92.
Good morning.
Sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is a lot to deal with all at once.
Good morning, Singapore. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube, as well as right here in the Kiss 92 studio. It's Good Morning Doctor Day, and we welcome Dr. Zhao Yi Jing, neurologist from Mount Elizabeth Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Zhao.
Thank you, Glenn, for the introduction. I'm very honored to be here, and I hope to have a good session today with you.
Oh,
guys.
you will. You absolutely will. We're so happy to have you.
Okay, so you are here, Dr. Zhao, to speak about headaches and migraines. Now, when I was growing up, a headache was a headache, something you had in like the back of your head or your whole head. And a migraine was kind of like where your eyebrows are, and it was a really sharp pain. Can you correct me if I'm wrong? That I am wrong?
Well, I would say that the fact that you even remember your headache most likely means that it could have been a migraine headache, because migraine headache tends to be a little bit more severe than what people call the normal headache, where it's a little bit milder in nature. The characteristic of the headache and the location doesn't quite matter. Sometimes it just travels around and it confuses patient, but it's not confusing to us.
Right. So the difference between a headache and a migraine would be the intensity then. If it's a migraine, it means it's a lot more severe in terms of the pain. Like when I was growing up, when I was in primary school, I used to have such severe headaches, aka maybe migraine, that I was puking. So would that be just a headache or would that be migraine?
Yes, you are absolutely right that migraine tends to be a little bit more of a severe kind of headache. And what you rightfully pointed out as well would be that nausea, vomiting sometimes can signify that it can be migraine because it's part of the diagnostic criteria. But we have to be a bit wary about it, because sometimes nausea and vomiting can signify something more sinister.
Like what though?
What we call secondary headaches, where the headaches is happening because of something else that's happening in the brain or in the body.
Oh, right. Okay. So how then, I mean, is nausea the only thing that would signify a migraine? I mean, what else? What other symptoms are there?
Yeah, so migraine has a lot of what we call accessory features. So some patients actually get a little bit of sensitivity to light when they are having the headache. So the same studio light that you are bearing right now, during a headache attack, you may not be able to bear with it. So the same for like listening to your spouse talking and nag at you. They get that sometimes where they find it worsens their headaches.
And volume as well. Sometimes you just need quiet, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So there are triggers, there are triggers as well for many, many people.
Yeah.
Just like when you mentioned just now, doctor, that if someone was having a migraine, lighting like this would be very uncomfortable for them. Could lighting like this, like someone walking into a room that's bright, trigger a headache?
Can.
Wow.
So sometimes I tell my patient that the five senses, when it's a little bit too stimulating, actually can trigger a headache as well. So that not just include sound, light, but also include smell as well. The other five senses like temperature changes can trigger off, and very hot and spicy food that you eat can trigger off the headaches as well.
Oh my goodness, that's all new to me.
This is going to be a very interesting session. Once again, we're talking to Dr. Zhao Yi Jing, neurologist from Mount Elizabeth Hospital, and we're talking to her about headaches and migraines this morning. Flower of Love is next. This is breaking news on Kiss 92.
So, Dr. Zhao, without getting too technical, how are headaches caused? Because I always thought it was kind of like an inflammation of something.
Yes, correct. Okay, so firstly, right, I will always tell the patient so that they have a bit broader understanding of what causes headache. So headache is a symptom, and there are hundreds of conditions under headache that can cause it, and it's broadly categorized into either primary headaches and secondary headaches. Secondary headaches are the ones that patients are concerned about because the headache is happening right there because of something else that's in the brain. So that will include things like tumor, bleeding, so aneurysms, where there is weakening of the blood vessels, can cause bleeding. So those are more sinister causes that patients are concerned about, and it is our duty to make sure that it is not those causes. Okay. And then we have the other category, which we kind of like discussed earlier on, that will include migraine as well as normal headache, which as a medical term we call it tension type headaches. And for those kind of headaches, it's just a person's innate tendency to get headaches. So similar to Glenn, what you experience, you seem to have it even when you were very young.
Yeah, I had it
Yeah.
when I was in primary school. Thank God I don't have it anymore. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah, so do people outgrow their headaches?
They actually do.
They do? Okay.
Yeah, technically speaking, if it's in your gene and you have an innate tendency to have headaches, you don't quite outgrow it. But I believe that some people, what happens is that they have a very healthy lifestyle, such that their body is healthy, their brain is healthy, and they don't get triggered to have headaches so easily. For women, a lot of times if it's migraine headache, after menopause, actually their headache do go down quite
Yeah.
a lot in terms of its frequency. But we have the other category of patients where if they don't have a healthy lifestyle, over time their headache just escalates.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. So women get headaches more, is it?
Yeah. Very unfortunate.
Because
No, I remember,
women
like-
think a little bit more.
No, I think, does that cause a headache, thinking more? Or is it more stress?
I mean, I don't mean to stereotype,
You
but you know,
seem to be stereotyping.
yeah, but I mean, between
Yeah,
Angel
yeah,
and
yeah.
myself, I think
Okay.
I'm very chill.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
no, of course, no,
But
carry on.
I think you think a little bit more.
Who, me? But I don't get headaches. I mean, like I said, I used to get headaches in secondary school,
Yeah.
but I cannot remember the last time I got a headache.
Okay, so what we have noticed, right, is that around the what we call the menarche, where women are going through puberty, is when the hormone starts to make it a little bit difficult. So women do have 3 times slightly higher chance of getting headache compared to guys, mainly because of the female hormones. In fact, we in medical term we have something called menstrual migraine, where during the period.
Yes,
you
I've
know,
experienced
yes,
that, yeah.
exactly. And that's also the reason why after menopause, the prevalence for women with headaches actually does go down.
Okay, so we just have to blame our hormones then for the headaches.
Well,
Are there any home remedies that we can do to treat headaches? Because I used to just take Panadol. And then normal Panadol, actually, I mean, these days my headaches are caused by alcohol.
They're called hangovers.
Actually, you know, before I can feel it already, you know, it's like when I get home and, you know, of course I've got to wake up at 4:45 in the morning. You know, I go home and just before bed, I can kind of gauge if I'm going to wake up with a little bit of a hangover or not. So immediately I'll pop 2 Panadol extras. And then I go to bed and I wake up fresh as a daisy.
We know you're not an alcohol hangover specialist, but why does that work?
okay.
Can you explain
So
it?
firstly, congrats on finding a remedy, a
Yeah.
home remedy. Well, hangover headache, right, is quite interesting because I had a professor last time when I was doing my, where he said that hangover headaches really do tend to happen more in patients with migraines.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened is that when you have a combination of bad lifestyle factors, like what you did, sleeping late, drinking the alcohol,
Bad lifestyle.
probably a bit of dehydration as well, then that's when it can trigger off the headaches. And a lot of patients over the years have told me about various interesting home remedies that they have come up with. It's quite interesting. Okay, these are definitely not in the textbooks. We have to learn from the patient.
Okay.
Ice bath. So I have a lady that told me that whenever she gets a migraine headache, she will just put on a bath, put loads of ice into
Oh,
it,
wow.
and then she would just plunge herself into it. I even had one patient where he says that he put his hand into the bucket without even exposing his head to it, and the headache actually does go away.
Can you explain it? I mean, is that like a contraction of muscles or nerves or what's going on? Because it's cold, right?
Yeah, correct. Well, I think that it's a combination, firstly, of vessels, where vessels tend to be a little bit affected around the head. That's a very mechanism point of view, so I won't go into it. In terms of sensory distraction, I think it seems to work as well. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So you're kind of distracting yourself away
Yeah.
from the pain. Like every time I have a headache, I'm massaging here. You know, this bit between the thumb and the index finger, because apparently it's all connected. But I don't know if that's true or if it's just a distraction.
I actually had a TCM doctor that told me the same thing. And there are patients that seem to try it as well. I don't know how it works because from a medical point of view, we have other points in our head that does it. The hand one probably is more towards the TCM side.
TCM side. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because we read about that, right? The massaging of that area you just mentioned,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it's always there to sort
Yeah.
of relieve it, but could be that distraction that she was talking
You know what I
about.
really like as well?
Yeah.
This is always good.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling a little bit,
Yeah.
In fact, I think I'm addicted to this now.
We have Eddie who says, "Good morning, doctor. I've had this problem since I was young, whenever I have a good laugh, I experience a headache or some kind of pain in my head. Is this something I should worry about?
Well, a lot of times when we look out for patients with secondary headache, we actually evaluate to check for things that can cause raised pressure in a headache. Because if we are concerned about, example, tumors in the brain, usually it causes pressure rise in the brain. And when they do certain things like cough, when they go to the washroom, and I don't know about laughing,
yeah.
but there are things that we do look out for in terms of red flags to make sure that it's not secondary headache.
Okay, so best to get it checked then.
Yes.
Okay, we have somebody else. David has come on board and he says, I have a headache, but no medicine, but I have allergies. No, okay, so he suffers from headaches, but and allergies to Panadol and Boston.
Oh, poor thing.
What should they do if they have allergies to?
I can't imagine for people who are allergic to these
Simple off the
these
shelf,
medicines,
right? Yeah.
You know, because I mean, you need this sometimes to get rid of the headache.
Fevers
But,
and headaches,
but if
yeah.
they are allergic to these, then they have to
Correct.
just
Well,
stay
as
in
we
pain.
see such patient, we get a little bit. That does tend to be a bit difficult for us. Fortunately for us, over the years, right, we have had new treatments in the field of migraine. So we don't just use paracetamol as well as Ponstan because they tend to be a little bit more generic pain medications. So we have migraine-specific pain medications that are a little bit more targeted, such that they have less side effects and it's more effective. So there are hopes in our new headache realm. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to know.
Wow.
There you go, David. Mol has also said, personally, yoga is my remedy for headaches because of the breathing techniques that she's been practicing.
That's a fantastic remedy.
Yeah.
I always encourage my patients to exercise and find whatever things that work for them without making it worse.
Okay.
Right. Let's
all
talk a little bit about that when we
Okay.
go back on air. Stand by. Traffic update next.
Kiss 92 traffic.
A couple of situations to look out for on the BKE towards the PIE at the PIE City exit and accident, and some breakdowns. The first is on the AYE towards the MCE after Pioneer Road's exit. The next one is on the TPE towards the PIE before the KPE exit. And finally on the PIE towards Tuas after the Thompson Road exit, avoid lane 2. An accident has been spotted. If you see anything else, 885550
Good morning and welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. In the studio today is very cool doctor, Dr. Zhao Yi Jing, neurologist from Mount Elizabeth Hospital, and we're talking about everything headache.
Headache related.
Headache or migraine related.
Yeah. So
And I just want to say this very quickly. You can take part in a headache quiz, okay? It's you should try it out. It's quite fun.
yeah.
I can't believe I just said the headache quiz. It's quite fun. But it's Mount Elizabeth. That's MOUNT Elizabeth, ELIZABETH. That's mountelizabeth.com.sg/headache.
Okay, it's a very quick one to quickly sort of, if you are suffering from headaches, to kind of define what kind of headache it is. Now, we were talking just before we came back on air on the Big Show TV about some remedies that you have seen patients tell you work for them, like cold baths. For Glenn, sometimes it's this little inhaler.
Hong Yu.
The inhaler that he uses. I know some people like to put a hot compress on their heads or go into a dark room, quiet room, that works for them. But we have someone, Mol, who wrote on our Facebook that yoga is her home remedy for headaches. She stopped getting headaches. She hasn't had a headache for decades, ever since she started practicing yoga, especially the breathing techniques. Is that something that you would recommend to people?
Yes, correct, absolutely. So in my headache clinic, right, when I discuss with patients in terms of the treatment plan, I give them a short-term plan, a medium plan, and a long-term plan. The long-term plan is always lifestyle. So I advocate fully for a healthy lifestyle that really includes exercising as well. So whatever that's good for the body is good for the brain as well, which is also why I thought that Glenn perhaps didn't have any more headaches, because perhaps he lead a healthy lifestyle. lifestyle.
I mean, I do work out a lot.
Yeah, she's looking at you very judgmentally because
No,
you
no,
talk,
no, no.
talk about your hangovers.
Only you look at me judgmentally. Nobody else does.
Carry on, Dr. Zhao.
Yeah, correct. So also that includes other simple things like drinking water. I have like patients coming back to the clinic just to tell me that their headache went away simply with drinking water. So long-term plan is actually very important in terms of management, long-term management of migraine headaches.
Dehydration is a big factor, right? Most people are dehydrated. That's why they get headaches as well.
Yes, and they don't even realize it, that they are chronically dehydrated.
So what about electrolytes? Electrolyte, because I have these tubes of electrolyte effervescent tablets, which I take the day after I go drinking. And I swear it helps.
So
It does.
are they? Okay,
Yes,
they
it does.
do.
I have some patients that tell me that they have to take cold beverages. They have very specific beverages that they go to. It helps. I believe them. It has to do with electrolyte imbalances and dehydration that can trigger off headaches.
Okay, so definitely dehydration is linked to getting a headache or a headache coming on. What about something like going out in the sun?
Yes, correct. So there are various triggers that I've accumulated over the years. In my clinic, usually I just show them the slide and then they'll look into it and then they'll start to name all their triggers. So this will actually include, in a broad category, the 4S. So that includes school, stress, screen time, sleep deprivation. Sometimes even sleep excess can trigger off as well.
Sleep access.
Yes.
And sleep deprivation.
Yes.
Wow.
Correct.
All the S's.
So
Okay.
on top of that, 5 senses. So we do have a lot of my own amas as well as the NS boys where they say that from the hot weather they get a headache, and I believe that. I know that they're not trying to escape from their NS. They really get triggered from the hot weather in Singapore.
Okay.
Okay. Let's continue to talk to Dr. Chow on The Big Show TV. Meantime, here's Sam Smith with Diamonds on Kiss 92.
I don't think we've asked this question yet. Are some people more prone to headaches than others? Because like Glenn says he has a history of headaches when he was in school. I also had a history of headaches in my teenage years, which you said could have been linked to hormones, the hormone changes and stuff like that. But are kids more susceptible, adults, men, women? I mean, is there a category?
Yeah, correct. So under the category for primary headaches, so that will not include the secondary ones where there's the sinister causes. For those people that do get migraine and tension type headaches, so tension type headaches, the normal headache, they have an innate tendency to get headaches. So that do tend to run in their gene. And if we ask them, you will hear that there is a family history of headaches where they remember their mom vaguely had complaining about headaches when they were young and then subsequently it wore off. I would say that it doesn't necessarily mean that you bug you for the rest of your life. A lot of times has to do with the decisions that you make in your life where depending on lifestyle, it may become a problem. Or if you have a good lifestyle, you may actually get better with it and it doesn't pose a problem.
Okay.
I think exercise is very important
It is.
because of the breathing.
And the oxygen going
when you
through
take
the...
like deep breaths and all that. I mean, obviously oxygen goes up to your head, and I think that helps.
What about things like eyesight? Because I know that sometimes when I put on my glasses and I start to get a headache and I take my glasses off and it feels okay. I mean, is there a correlation?
Yes, correct. So I would say that those probably belong in the category of normal headache. So that would be the tension type headaches where some ladies where they have tight head wears or if they're wearing spectacles, there are a lot of that's not compatible. It actually does trigger off the tension headaches.
So saying that, oh, maybe I need to go check my eyes to kind of like, get a new pair of glasses could help.
Exactly. So
Okay.
trigger avoidance and mitigation is one of the key management in terms of headaches.
Okay.
I know what's another trigger for me.
Yes.
Hairspray.
Oh, the smell.
I think it's the
Because
smell.
she said it's one of the senses.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
every time we have like a photo shoot or whatever, these days I'll tell the hairstylist
No hairspray.
not too much hairspray. But I remember in the past when I used to do these photo shoots.
So it could be that.
After the photo shoot, I'll always have a little bit of a headache.
So
And then I was wondering why, right? And then I realized I think it's the hairspray. The smell of the hairspray, I think.
yeah, correct. So earlier on you said that you have headaches when you were young, but actually you still have randoms of it that's suggestive even in your adulthood
Yeah, I
right
think
now.
so. Yeah.
But everyone gets headaches, right? Every now and then.
Yes. Well, if you live long enough, sometimes you would have gotten a headache one point in time in your life. The prevalence for normal headache can be as high as 80 to 90% in a person's lifestyle.
Oh no! Wow. Okay. We
But
have
not to be too concerned if you get a headache once
in a while.
right? Just okay.
Yes, correct.
Miss Alec has asked, can a headache also be due to sitting or sleeping positions? Any relation there?
It can be, but I would categorize those under probably secondary headaches because we have something called cervicogenic headache. Okay, so anyway, to make things less complicated, sometimes when there is persistent neck pain, it can actually trigger off a pain in the entire region, and sometimes it can cause headache as well. And
Oh, wow.
that would be what some patients in the office, when they work in poor posture, they experience as well.
Right. Okay. Because of the strain.
Yes.
Okay.
I go for regular massages. Every week I'll go for one massage.
Okay, so
Yeah.
remedies. I mean, like great remedies, a massage. You said a cold, for some cold baths, hot towels, anything else that people can do to kind of, before they run to the doctor, before they pop a Panadol, anything else that they can do at home to calm themselves down.
Yeah, so some patients do sleep. Like they feel that after a good nap, the headache actually goes off. I would say that whatever works for you for it, please go for it. But at least do something about it. Don't just work your way through, continue to work, and eventually what happens is that the headache can actually escalate. And a lot of times the patient will end up in the emergency department, where I would say that I always go down to put out the fire.
Yeah.
Because the fire has fully escalated, and I have to use a lot of pain medications and whatnot to try and stop the
So
headaches.
don't let the headache sit for too long.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes I'm like, oh, it'll go away.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't. Then I take like a Panadol or something. But sometimes I just want it to go away. You
I
know?
try not to take paracetamol.
Yeah, exactly.
actually,
Yeah.
unless I really, really cannot. I can't take it anymore. So just like Angel, no.
So a lot of patients do that, and I tell them that please don't do that, because a very easy way to understand is that when the fire is small, it's going to be very easy to put it out. But when it fully escalates, you end up taking more medications to put out to stop the headaches.
But how long do you wait before you say, okay, this is too long, I need to take?
You got a headache, you just take.
Straight away?
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
Because it's a small fire, like what the doctor just said.
but that would mean like, oh my gosh, I've got a headache now. Glenn is like hurting my head or something.
You
I
should
can't
not
just
be
pop.
having a headache so often anyway.
No, I don't. But I'm just saying for others that do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
so
they
for
wait a little?
those, right,
Yeah.
they actually do have to monitor their frequency, because if
Okay.
they start to notice that it's getting more and more frequent, I think they actually do need to seek medical help as
And
well.
what kind of medical help do they see? A GP or a
There,
specialist?
go
And you-
straight and look for Dr. Zhao.
Is that what they do? Straight to a neurologist?
Usually the pathway, I've noticed what they do is that they will see a primary health care physician
Yeah.
first. And if there are any signs of red flags or it's not difficult to manage, that's when they will refer to a neurologist to see. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, like we were mentioning earlier on, right? Headaches could be an inflammation. No, it's not. Is it? Because in terms of medication, I know for a fact that paracetamol does not take away inflammation,
Yes.
It's
Wow.
not anti-inflammatory.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like the earlier on, the one that we mentioned, Ponstan, has anti-inflammatory effect. And from a very technical point of view, if you're interested, there is a certain level of what we call inflammation that's going on in the brain. That's just mechanism. But how we treat headache, right, really goes by in terms of its characteristics. So some patients with very clear migraine headaches, actually I will give migraine-specific pain medication as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because there's some
That's
medications you got to
interesting,
be very
though.
careful of as well.
Yeah. Is it a painkiller or is it an anti-inflammation pill that you take?
Okay, let's ask the doctor one last time when we go on there about some of the dangerous medication, let's say, people should avoid.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Okay, a new one that just popped up on my screen on Brattle Road towards Tampines after the Brattle underpass. An accident causing congestion all the way till Toa Payoh. Avoid the right lane. Also on the PIE towards Changi Airport before Ingneo Avenue. Look out for a broken down vehicle. Wherever you are this morning, stay safe.
Welcome Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for this morning on Good Morning Doctor is Dr. Zhao Yi Jing, neurologist from Mount Elizabeth Hospital, and we're learning everything about headaches and migraines this morning.
So we have Sandeep who has messaged in on our WhatsApp number 88550920 with a question for you, doctor. I have had migraines since my childhood. However, they used to come and go. But for the last 4 weeks, I've been having headaches/migraines, though it has become a little bit better. I still have constant pain in my eyeballs and both my temples. What should I do? Should I be worried?
Yeah, so earlier on I was talking about short-term, medium-term, long-term. There are patients, right, I've noticed that tend to get what we call a new onset daily headache, where their underlying headaches escalated very quickly and they started to have more frequent headaches. Our job here will be first and foremost, most importantly, rule out a secondary headache. Make sure it's nothing sinister, because whenever there's a change in headache, we have to be a little bit cautious. But in terms of short-term and medium-term, that's when it comes in. So for short-term, basically I'm referring to pain medications. So pain medications, they can help to mitigate the headache. But what it does, right, is that it's just going to take off the pain. And when the pain effect wears off, then it doesn't work anymore. That's when the medium-term, what we call preventive medication, comes in, where the patient either have to go through injection or take a medication every day to slowly bring down the headache in terms of its intensity and make it completely go away. Yep.
Okay. So
This could take over your life. I mean, if you're someone who does not suffer from headaches or migraines, you should thank your lucky stars. Because there's some people who are really, really suffering on a daily basis.
there was another part actually to Sandeep's question. He continued to say, also, I think I might have shingles at the back of my head. Could this be linked to the headache, or could the headache be linked to this?
Yeah, so that's when it can get a little bit tricky, where you actually do have to evaluate a patient properly in a clinical setting to make sure there is not a secondary headache and other thing that's causing the headaches.
So go to the doctor, Sandeep.
Yeah, man. Is he saying he's having shingles now?
That's what he says. I think I might have shingles at the back of my head.
I think you definitely need to go and see a doctor.
Go see
right
a
now.
doctor, Sandeep. Okay, a little bit about the medication if we wanted to chat about.
Yes.
Panadols versus anti-inflammatory versus painkillers versus what do we take, what do we not take?
Should people be more cautious? Because, there's so many types of medication out there. Some more harmless than others.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, in my lecture, I actually say not all medications are equal. So there are some medications, right, that can over time actually cause what we call chronification of the headache, where the headache actually slowly become more and more frequent. So those are the medications that I tend to avoid, and I tend to give more migraine-specific pain medication. That would be for pain medication. Preventive is kind of the opposite, where it does slowly bring down the headache and it has a less reliant effect, contrary to what people believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Once upon a time, people used to take aspirin and all that, but then, there are so many side effects to medication like aspirin.
Like
or
blood thinning and all that.
Yeah. So would you say that paracetamol would be like the safest if someone were to take a painkiller at home?
Well, nothing is really safe if, you take it excessively. So for patients that have more and more frequent headache, if they take it a little bit too often, that's when I think we have to put a stop to it, and we have to consider other forms of treatment in terms of preventive to help with the headaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always say if you're unsure, go and see
See a doctor. Yes.
Go and see Dr. Zhao.
Yes, and we have Dr. Zhao sitting right here. She is, of course, a neurologist at Mount Elizabeth Hospital.
All right. Before we let you go, would you like to say anything to anyone who might be
Suffering.
having headaches?
Well, first, the most important is to make sure that it's not a secondary headache, it's just a primary headache. If it's a primary headache, it can be properly managed with good lifestyle. But if it does escalate, I would say that please seek treatment, because like what you mentioned earlier on, it can be very debilitating for family and for the family and the patient themselves, and you want them to have a good quality of life. And that's when we come in to help you all. Yeah.
And if you want to find out more about headaches, you can go to www.mountelizabeth.com.sg/what-is-in-your-head.
Yeah, I hear the
Find
link
out.
is in the comments
It
as well.
is in the comments, yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Zhao, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Uncover Invisible Health Threats. Are you missing the signs?